Yes, guys, what's going on? Welcome to AdamMcKola TV. I am, of course, Adam, and this is the Premier League Gazette, where every single Monday we go through the back pages and have a look what's going on in the world of Premier League football, the world of Manchester United, and the world of English football. Except since we've started this series, we've not had much football to talk about because obviously everything has been put on hold. Not just the football, all of sport, all of the world seemingly has been put on hold and put on lockdown. And we've been dealing with the fallout of that on Premier League Gazette when the season's going to start again. But today we've got some new issues to talk about as the players are revolting against their owners. Yes, the Premier League captains are standing together as a united force to come against the owners and to help raise funds for those that need it most. And we'll talk about that today as we've got all the back pages here to go through. We'll also talk about one player who has been shamed. He has been well and truly shamed for having a cheeky little sex party when he should have been on lockdown. Of course, we've got more rumours about when the Premier League could restart again. Will it be behind closed doors? Will it not be behind closed doors? Will it be cancelled? Who knows? And one Premier League club has left themselves embarrassed. Embarrassed, yes, as they've put most of their non-playing staff, if not all of their non-playing staff, on furlough and are taking the taxpayers' money to pay them while they are out of work, which is pretty abysmal when you consider what all the other millionaire and big clubs in the Premier League have done. So we'll be talking about that as well. So we've got lots to come on the Premier League Gazette, and first things first, let's look at this. United we stand. Yes, it's not the Manchester United fanzine, the great Manchester United fanzine, may I add, but it's the captains leading a revolt over the Premier League club's demands for substantial pay cuts. So we've heard Premier League players have been asked to take a pay cut. They've been asked to take a pay cut and they're happy to do this because they obviously see the issues are at hand. But they don't want to take a pay cut and allow these owners to be saving money at these times when really they don't need to be saving money. That money could be going elsewhere into just charitable causes. So these guys are coming together to create sort of like a bond or a charity which will be run by the PFA and led by the captains, and we'll see donations from those players going in. Now I think that is absolutely fantastic. Now we've seen United's players have already said they'll be taking a 30% pay cut from this month, and that will go to the NHS and similar charitable organisations. So that is obviously fantastic. But we're reading here how there was a football's video nasty. There was a conference call which ended in disarray, but the captains vowed to stand together, and they've now done like a WhatsApp group where they are talking. And if you look at some of these Premier League owners and their personal wealth, Arsenal's Stan Kroenke, 7.9 billion, Villa's Nassef Sawiris, 5 billion. You look at the Glazers, 3.6 billion, which is pretty much United. All of these guys have a massive wealth. Mike Ashley, 2.3 billion. Liverpool's John Henry, 2.1 billion. And it's made even more disgraceful that John Henry has decided to furlough his playing staff, his non-playing staff, and allow the government to have to pay their wages. 80% of their wages. I find that actually abysmal. A lot of other clubs, and I'm not using this as something to attack Liverpool with, because we'll see Jordan Henderson here as kind of helping lead these captains together with Harry Maguire and Troy Deeney and everyone. And obviously Liverpool's fans, for whatever we think of Liverpool as a football club and the rivalry and everything, Liverpool fans have always been in favour of social justice and in favour of, raising money and food for food banks and things like that. And I'm sure they'd be disgusted too by the actions of their board and their actions of their owners to be doing this. And I just think it's a disgrace from Liverpool, to be totally honest with you. And it makes sense that these captains and these players would come together and try and overcome the pressure that the clubs are privately putting on them and come together to give 30% or a percentage of their wages to the likes of charitable organisations in this time of need. Having said that, expecting footballers to pay NHS and contribute to the NHS is quite ridiculous. And Wayne Rooney's gone on the attack as well. There's another story here where Wayne Rooney says it is a disgrace the way footballers have been demonised by the Premier League and politicians. Derby striker Rooney launched a blistering attack on Health Secretary Matt Hancock and league bosses for trying to publicly shame players when they were already in discussions about setting up their own charity. How the past few days have played out as a disgrace. First, the Health Secretary has said the Premier League players should take a pay cut. Why was the pay of footballers even in his head? Was he desperate to divert attention from his government's handling of this pandemic? The Premier League then announced it was looking for its players to give up or defer wages by 30%. This despite owners and the Premier League board knowing players were already in deep discussion about what their contribution should be. It feels it is to shame players and force them in a corner to pick up the bill for the lost revenue. And I think that's absolutely bang on from Wayne Rooney, and I'm glad we've got someone as high profile, even though he's now playing for Derby County, but someone as high profile as Wayne Rooney stepping up and making this kind of stand. The government are coming out criticising not Wayne Rooney directly, but players and football players for not taking a page cut. Are they taking pay cuts? Are wage cuts? Are manager? Are their friends in wealthy positions and all the bankers and all them? Are they forcing? Are they pressurising them into taking pay cuts? No, they're not. And actually, footballers pay a massive contribution of tax towards the running of this country as well, which should be put into better places like the NHS and like the police force and like things like that, not offset to help tax cuts for the rich. Fuck Nick Hancock or Matt Hancock, whatever the fuck his name is. Moving on to another paper which is also covering that as well and is going with Revolt with a picture of all the Premier League captains, Aubameyang, Grealish, the likes of Jordan Henderson there, Wes Morgan, Seamus Coleman, all of them there anyway. As you can imagine, I don't know why I started reeling them off, but they're talking about that full-scale revolt over proposals to bring in drastic pay cuts. They have set up a captain's WhatsApp group and all 20 are being urged to stand strong together, reject the plans and not break rank after one club skipper branded the proposals disgusting. Prem and Government here is the top headline, which is in advanced talk on a June return to action. The Premier League are at an advanced stage in talks with the government over return to football in June. It is understood there is a tentative agreement for top flight football to resume behind closed doors. In principle, the government health officials hopeful the peak of the virus will pass in the next few weeks. Games will be sanctioned under strict guidelines. At an emergency meeting on Friday, league officials also discussed extensive measures to keep the players in a sterile environment as much as possible, limiting contact with the wider public. I think that is very, very hard to do, and that's probably the main reason why I think it won't happen. To ensure fans do not try to go to matches, there have been talks with TV companies to increase the number of games screened in June, with clubs hopeful some will be on terrestrial TV. Sky and BT have the rights to some of the remaining fixtures but lack the capacity to broadcast them all, and discussions have centred on a free-to-air agreement to allow more to be shown. Details of the plan presented to the government will be thrashed out as the situation improves. Should the crisis worsen, a return would be put on hold. Clubs were told at the meeting to start preparing for a possible resumption of the league in June, with players expected to ramp up training and precautions to keep them isolated from the public next month. I find that impossible. I find it impossible that they'll be able to keep them separated from the public. You couldn't keep Jack Grealish from going to his mates. How are you possibly going to do that? Just doesn't make any sense to me. Doesn't make any sense to me at all. I think they'll force it through behind closed doors. But I think it's a massive risk, to be honest. A massive, massive risk. And we move on to this one, the Star Sport, going with the good, the bad and the ugly. The good is City deliver pay vow to staff. Obviously we heard about Liverpool doing the opposite and taking government money to pay the staff. So it's good to see the human rights abuse in Manchester City's owners have a little bit of decency in them anyway. Then we've got Shane Kyle's in a fine mess. The bad, talking about Kyle Walker. And the ugly, Prem wage war getting nasty as Stars fight back, which is obviously the story we've spoken about. We've spoken about that story as well in regards to Liverpool, but obviously we know City's owners are doing the opposite of that and doing what United's are doing, and a lot of other Premier League clubs are doing as well. But let's look at this story in relation to Kyle Walker. Manchester City star Kyle Walker is facing a £250,000 fine following claims he broke lockdown rules to stage a sex party with 2 prostitutes. Etihad bosses look set to hit the defender with a fine of 2 weeks' wage. His wage has to be more than 125 grand a week being at City. Surely it's more than 125 grand a week being at City. But anyway, Walker yesterday apologised after a report that he and a friend paid more than 2 bags for 2 sex workers to visit his home last week, despite the country being in lockdown due to the coronavirus pandemic. It is claimed the 2 women left Walker's home the following morning and on the same day took to social media to urge the public to follow guidelines on social distancing. How about you social distance yourself away from prostitutes, you mad geezer? What are you doing? What are you? And you know the newspapers have got fuck all to write about. So as soon as someone comes with a story like this, it's gonna come out. It's gonna come out real big, real quick. And he's obviously made a public apology. So Kyle Walker, you naughty little dog. He's made an apology and a statement apologising to fans and all that stuff. I bet you he still does it again though, right? I bet you he still does it again. Anyway, that's the most exciting thing on the back of the newspapers, as we've got very little to talk about. But when the Premier League will restart, what's going on with players' wages? Are clubs paying their staff? And Liverpool are obviously not. And obviously Kyle Walker getting his dong out when he should be social distancing. Let us know what you guys are thinking anyway. In the comments below, what did you make of all we discussed today in the Premier League Gazette? And of course, Wayne Rooney's comments as well. He has to be hero of the week, Wayne Rooney. He has to be hero of the week. Wally of the week would have to be Kyle Walker. Has to be Kyle Walker. What are you doing? Anyway, make sure you're liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. Remember, we got daily content on AdamMcKola TV. United Daily Live every single day. On Monday we have the Premier League Gazette. On Tuesday we have the Rumour Rater, and tomorrow we've also got a United Future 11 video coming as well. On Wednesday we have the Master Debaters series. On Thursday we have the Weekly United. On Friday we have Straight Up MUFC with Dean. On Saturdays we will have some FIFA content, and on Sunday we will have the Pod to Nowhere with me and Stephen Arson, and the first one went up this weekend. So make sure you're subscribing to keep it locked to all of that. And of course you can join now as well. Click join as a member, become one of the very first few, and you can get exclusive content from AdamMcKola TV. You can get to join the Discord as well. You get priority in Q&As, you get to ask questions to players when I do interviews and things like we did with the Kiko Makeda one. You get a whole load of different goodies, so make sure you're joining us over there as well. But make sure, keeping it locked, like, comment, share, subscribe. For now, I've been AdamMcKola. This has been the Premier League Gazette. I'm out of here.